folks, welcome to another episode of Seeing Sentai. I'm Mars Girl. Today we're looking at Denshi Sentai Denjiman episodes 15 through 21. I realize, of course, it's been kind of a while since I was last on this. I'm hoping to marathon and barrel on through that now that I've got kind of a lot of time on my hands. I was able to get through a whole bunch of request reviews that required lots of watching tons of episodes all in a row, which kind of unfortunately took me off track with Seeing Sentai. But we're back on, and hopefully marathoning and barreling through a little bit faster than we were before to get kind of back to where I had intended to be in the past. I wish that I could say that there was a lot to say about these last 7 episodes I watched, and really there isn't much of a progressive story arc since the last time I watched. In fact, for the most part, all the character development has remained the same. Yellow still is probably the least touch member of the Denjiman, and I really wish they would give him something to do, and so far they really haven't. At least they kind of have given Green something to do. At least he interacts with the cute, adorable little cop lady, but, you know, they haven't really taken that anywhere as of yet. I guess I could be talking about some monsters. There's Panchirora, Samala, Deadbolar, Kaigalar, Gamalar, Hachidokular, and Rosokular. And as usual, most of those names are puns. The best one probably is Punch Roller, who is a guy on roller skates. He's a monster on roller skates, and that whole episode is like roller skate themed. With this monster being on roller skates, he sends out the grunts who are all on roller skates. He's with the bad guys transmitting radio waves down to people on Earth in Tokyo, listening, and they get brainwashed into thinking they need to do things to defeat the Denjiman, and then it all ends up in a roller disco, and the fight progresses from there with really weird choreography, with the Denjiman having to fight other bad guys on roller skates. The Denjiman aren't on roller skates, but all the bad guys are, so it's a really kind of awkward fight choreography. As usual, there's monsters based on baseballs and monsters themed on sharks. I'm pretty sure at this rate we're never going to have a series that does not have a monster that's based on a baseball or a shark. I'm sure somebody could tell me if an upcoming series does not have either one of those two themed monsters, but so far I'm noticing it becoming a trend. Hachidokular is a monster that's based on bees. Really, half of him looks like a honeycomb, kind of, and he like carries around this enormous bee that stings people and it poisons them, and you know, it just makes you think, well, yeah, the bees in Japan are known to be pretty big and pretty deadly, and this is probably the deadliest one you'll ever see. That monster actually was particularly lazy, and it goes back and forth between the focus on that monster and a really lazy fat kid who then finds this mystical flower that only blooms once every 100 years, and then he drinks its pollen, and suddenly he becomes the friggin' Hulk, and he's really friggin' awesome at everything that he does, including sports. Suddenly he's fantastic at football or something, and the bad guys then are like, we're gonna take the pollen from you that you, like, tapped as if it were maple syrup coming out of a tree that's hidden away in a jar, and so the monster drinks it. Now the monster's no longer lazy, and he's really friggin' awesome, and he flips a whole car. It was a pretty good stunt, actually. They actually flipped a real car and set off pyrotechnics and stuff, so they didn't cheapen out on that one, so good for them. Interestingly enough, episode 21 features a monster that never turns into a giant monster at any point during the episode, not in the middle of the fight, not at the end of the fight. As time has gone on, sometimes you'll get a big monster that doesn't get defeated while it's big and giant. Sometimes it gets defeated while on the ground after it's become giant, and then it's reverted back down to being a small monster. And sometimes, you know, the Denjiman will put together their sticks to form Denji Boomerang, and then it explodes. But not this guy. This guy never turned giant once. Rosokular, whose name is kind of a pun on candle. His head looks like a big candle, and in fact, He's the head of a really evil organization, the Shinigami faction, or like, you know, Death God or Grim Reaper faction, and their main lair is just full of candles. And thus the theme of candles kind of makes sense, but at no point during the episode do the Denjiman actually have to fight him in a giant robot and defeat him with the Denji sword, which is just kind of interesting. Furthermore, what's kind of interesting is that by the time they hit that episode, they started adding in a couple more really interesting insert themes. You know, songs that just play in the middle of an episode, and they sing about a character or a monster or something. One of the songs sings about the Denji tiger. You know, it's not very smart, intelligent, or clever or anything, but, you know, it's kind of cool that now we've hit almost the halfway point in this series, and now we're starting to get new music. So that, I think, is very, very interesting. Otherwise, I'm hoping to really see a better overarching story very, very soon. To the best of my understanding, you know, this isn't the only Super Sentai series to kind of drop off and kind of just flatline in the middle of it. I think this is probably one of the first instances of it. Go Ranger, of course, went on for so freaking long that it's hard to really say that it ever had an overarching storyline. It was like way too early in the franchise's history to really be able to expect much, but as time goes on, I think we're going to expect more and more and more, and right now it's kind of flatlining in the middle, if I'm to be honest. That is not to say that it's bad. Every episode is really entertaining. There's always something real stupid happening, something really amusing, a bad costume, or bad, like for example, one episode where we see Denji Pink is talking to a guy that's an old childhood friend of hers, maybe a love interest. At some point, she has to kind of start ducking and rolling from all these monsters because she's trying to protect this guy from her past, who's in a lot of trouble. And as she's ducking and rolling, you can see that clearly there's a stunt actor in there who is clearly not the main actress for Denji Pink. It's some completely and utterly different person. Like, the body structure is like completely different, way more toned and athletic and stuff. So these kind of things are still hilarious to watch. Like, I'm not encouraging you to watch Denjiman if you ever get the opportunity, but I am saying if you're looking for storyline in the middle, there's kind of nothing right now, so I can only talk about this so far. So for now, I guess I'm gonna stop there, and I'd like to try and just plow on through and marathon a ton more of Denjiman and kind of quickly get back up to speed to where I want it to be. So hopefully I'll be doing another video very, very shortly. Thank you very much, guys. Please take a look at marsgirl.tumblr.com, where I'm still doing write-ups of all these episodes as I'm watching them. And thank you very much to the Patreon contributors over at patreon.com/marsgirl who continue to make this and lots of my other episodes like this happen every single time I manage to upload one. So thank you very much, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.